currently 7 a.m. in the morning and I'm finally leaving the library. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if it's your first time stopping by, welcome. So today I'm just gonna share with you guys my Passing Cta testimony and how God helped me and how faith got me through such a difficult year in my life. So if you guys are interested in that, or if you want to be motivated even if you're not studying accounting or honors in accounting, keep on watching. So I'm just going to start right at the beginning of the year, where I was just excited that I had gotten into CTA. I was also so grateful to God for helping me because undergrad was not easy. And I was about to step into, the scary CTA, as everybody puts it. So I remember we went for our orientation and there were a lot of speakers that came to speak to us. They came to tell us about their journeys, they came to tell us about their experiences, and they were just basically giving us tips and tricks of how to go about CTA and the hardships we were likely to face and how to overcome those. So I remember most of the people would come and say, oh, you're gonna fail, and I used to say, I rebuke you, because to me it's like I didn't want to accept that because I believe that words have power over your life. Fast forward into the year, we had started with classes and everything, and we got our first tests. What I quickly noticed was the way they tested was completely different from the way they did in undergrad. So I remember one of my best modules in undergrad was auditing, and I remember when the first results came back, auditing was one of my lowest. I was quite shocked because I didn't understand at that time what had happened. Even though I had realized that the way they're asking questions is different, I still was shocked when I saw my results, to be honest. Like, it was just a complete disaster. But it wasn't only for me, it was for almost everyone in the class. I think a few people, less than 10 people actually passed, as in got more than 50%. That's how drastic it was. So I was like, oh, you know what, it's okay, everybody's failing. It's okay. It means that it's tough for everyone. That's what I was thinking. I remember in the first semester, I remember experiencing a weird headache. And what I mean by a weird headache is that every time I tried to study, I kid you not, I would experience something like a heaviness really towards my forehead, like this half of my head. So this headache, it usually came about when I was about to study. It felt like, it felt like I couldn't really think, like I couldn't really focus on what I was doing. Every time I tried to study, I would have to study maybe 5 times maybe I would have to study a paragraph probably 5 times just to get what that paragraph was trying to say. And I remember every time that would happen, because it was happening but I wasn't really realizing that it was happening. I didn't think it was a big deal, or I didn't panic about it. I would just say, oh, let me go on YouTube and watch something so that my mind can be refreshed. I was thinking maybe it was the long hours in class that were making, I don't know, I just thought, oh, it's because maybe I had a long day at school, so maybe let me just take a break and watch YouTube. And I'll just watch YouTube and that would be it. And next time when I try studying again, the same thing would happen. I went through a lot of emotional things, even having nightmares. So all of those things, right, they kind of like slowed me down in my studies. I'm not going to lie. They slowed me down in my studies. I used to pray, and I think I used to fast every other Sunday so that God could help me with my studies, because I couldn't study because of that headache and all the stress and everything that was going on. I remember just asking God to intervene to help me because I didn't want to fail. Then we wrote the second test. I failed again. At this point I was like, you know what, I was starting to feel like, I don't know, I've never felt this in my life because I'm usually a fighter. I'm usually fighting and stuff. But there was a point where I was just like, I'm tired of school. When you study and then you don't see results. Basically, I had a negative outlook on school, and because everybody had told us, oh, you're gonna fail, you might have to repeat so many times before you make it. I think I was kind of getting discouraged. But at the same time, it was coming off in a way of, oh, I don't like school anymore. But but I also kept on praying because I knew my mom had worked so hard. That's one of the things that pushed me to keep praying and asking God to intervene, because I was like, God, why are these things happening? You know, I didn't understand. But because I just looked at my mom, and I just looked at the fact that she had been paying my school fee and sacrificing a lot for me. I think that's what made me want to pray more, to ask God to intervene, because this situation, I really didn't have control over it. I didn't understand what the headache was about. I didn't understand anything. So now the lecturers tell us, you guys are gonna be ranked in June. You're gonna write your exams, and then you're gonna be ranked from top to bottom. This was a class of approximately 500 students. So so that ranking was just supposed to tell you where you stand, and if there's a chance for you to basically make it in CTA. Okay, I went and I wrote the June exams. They were tough, and I failed again. Because of the way CTA is so tough, and the way maybe our university would ask us questions to prepare us for the ITC board exam, they made sure that there wouldn't be a minimum requirement to enter the exam, the final exam. So that was a great thing. And also they made sure that the year mark, the coursework and the year mark of the tests that we used to write during the year would add up to 40%. So the exam would end up giving you 60%. It kind of gave people hope, because I mean, even if you didn't make it during the year, there was a possibility of making it if you passed in the exam. Our lecturers used to once in a while encourage us by telling us there were, a few miracle students. I remember they even made a girl speak in our class, telling us of how she failed all throughout the year and then ended up excelling in the exam, and which made her pass CTA overall if you calculated the averages and everything. So in June, when I realized that I had failed, I was devastated, but I knew there was hope. But when the ranking came out, let me tell you, the girl was on the bottom half of the class. Mind you, auditing was the lowest mark I had, and thinking back to undergrad, auditing, I had a distinction in undergrad, like in third year. So it was just a moment of even comparing the marks, right? The marks wouldn't really change, some would even go down. So it seemed like I was actually going from bad to worse. Okay, I know this is not funny. At that point it really wasn't funny, but thinking back to it, and I just don't want to make this video a sad one, because at the end of it all, God got me through it. So I remember during the June winter break, I was like, no, I'm going to pray, I'm going to fast. So me and my mother, okay, I remember one of my friends, she was just talking to me, and she was just talking to me about how doing absolute fasts has helped her and her mom with certain situations in their house. So I was looking at this situation, I was like, this is bad, this is bad. It was devastating. Imagine failing one test after another, and now the exam. So I came home and I told my mom, oh mom, I want to do a 2.5 absolute fast. So an absolute fast is whereby you don't eat or drink water for 2.5 days. So we decided to do it. We started this absolute fast. I remember I was praying and I was asking God to help me, because I knew I was in such a terrible situation. I remember we went to a prayer mountain. It's situated somewhere in Evendale in Gauteng. So we went to the prayer mountain. I was praying, and I just felt it in my heart that I should pray for other people. And I remember putting up a status on my WhatsApp and asking people if they also wanted, whoever had a prayer request, and I also prayed for other people. And I remember just crying out to God, I was very emotional, crying out to God, please help me. My mother was also praying, but we were like in separate places. She was praying there, and I was on the other side of the mountain. So I remember that day, we went to the mountain, because I felt like I still had energy. Your first day in fasting, I think you still have energy to walk around and do some stuff. But the second day, I just couldn't go to the mountain. I decided to stay home because I was feeling very weak, because I hadn't eaten. You don't eat at night, by the way. You don't drink water. So I remember now we finished the fasting on the third day, but we broke the fast in the middle of the day. So I was just like, you know what, I prayed, and I prayed for other people. I'm definitely gonna pass now. When I get into this new semester, into the second semester, I'm gonna pass. That was what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, it's gonna go well because I know God hears prayers, God answers prayers. And mind you, I'm not saying anything. I don't mean to say God doesn't answer prayers. I just believe God has his timing with prayers, So, and God also, when he has something to prove to you, he might delay your answer so that you can really see that, you know what, I need God to pass. It's not my strength, it's not about me, it's about God and how he has helped me to get here. And you must be grateful, because sometimes when he hands us things easily, or you tend to think that, oh, it was me, it was my doing, I passed this because I am the one. Yes, yes, yes. So I think sometimes he delays, the victory for a certain reason, for you to really understand that it's him and all the glory belongs to him. So I remember I went back into second semester. I was like, I'm ready, I'm gonna pass this. We write the September test. The girl failed. Honestly, that was the second from last test. That was the test that even if you had thought, oh yeah, maybe I might make it in June, and you didn't, you could still be like, oh, maybe in September, things will change. And mind you, at this point, not everyone was failing anymore. It was just a selective few that were failing this time, like a few people. So I was one of them. I remember even for auditing, right? I remember asking God to help me, to show me how to study, to show me what to study, because the work was overwhelming. It was too much. So I just had to go ask God for guidance in studying and to show me how to study. The September tests were now integrated. So what I mean by integrated is that we were writing all four modules in a few days, maybe in 4 days. So we would write 2 sessions per day. The first one would start from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and the second one would start at 1 till 4 p.m. So this would be a day of writing. Basically, you just get a break to go and eat and just calm down and calm your nerves, and then you come back and you write again. And in those 4 sessions, 4 days of writing, you'd probably get a paper which had auditing and accounting, with accounting and text. So it was integrated. The scenario will be the same, but you'd have to find information for accounting, whichever information applied to accounting and whichever applied to text. The first day went by, I think we wrote 100 marker on finance in the morning, and in the afternoon we wrote an integration of accounting and taxation. I got home, I was so disappointed and low, and I knew I had so much work to study for the next day, when we were writing the next day. And mind you, you did not know what you were gonna write. So you get into the exam and find out, oh, you're getting auditing today, or you're writing text today. So I got home and I was so demoralized and I slept. I woke up around 3 a.m. in the morning, and I was just still so discouraged. I didn't know what to even study because I knew the exam would be starting at 8 a.m. So I was like, what exactly can I study from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. that could help me? Not really 8 a.m. because I still had to prepare and go to school. So I was just like, what do I study? Which module do I study? I didn't know what was coming the next day. So I decided to go on YouTube and watch a sermon. And this is what told me. I always used to say with my friend, you know what, friend, time spent on God is never time wasted. That was one thing we used to say. We used to say so confidently. And I was like, you know what, let me just go and watch this sermon. It was a 1-hour sermon. Mind you, I was writing at 8, and I still had a lot to do because I wasn't done. When we started writing, I wasn't done studying because the work is just a lot. So I'm just gonna show you guys our books so you can just get a glimpse of, or you can get an understanding of how much work we had to do, how much things we had to go through. So I remember watching the sermon, right? And then after finishing the sermon, I I'm not sure if I prayed. I think I prayed. And then I started studying auditing. Guys, when I tell you that I was just studying auditing, but there was a possibility of other modules coming that I wasn't done with anyway. So I was studying auditing and I was asking myself, but why do I keep studying auditing? Why don't I look at other things? But I don't know why I just kept studying auditing until it was around 7:30 and it was time to go for the exam. So I was just like, am I serious though? Why would I do that to myself, knowing fully well that other topics, other modules could come, either accounting could come? I get there, we get 100-mark question of auditing. I was just like, God, thank you. This is what I've come to understand. Because I had decided to watch the sermon and pray and spend time with God before the studies, God had allowed me to just study the module which was coming. Because guess what? In the second session, we wrote auditing and finance. So it means basically we wrote auditing in one day and we were done with it. So had I studied other modules, I would have been misled and I would have gotten there and found auditing and I wouldn't know what to do. Maybe the information, I wouldn't have really known how to answer it. So you see, God can really guide you in your studies. Really pray, God, show me what to study, lead me and guide me. I can't speak for everyone, but God won't probably speak to you in a loud voice like, oh, go study this module or go study this topic, but you could just think, oh yeah, I need to study revenue, and you won't even realize it in that point. I need to study this topic called revenue, and when you get into the exam, that's the exact one that's there. Do you understand? And then you yourself, you know that, oh, it's because I asked God and He is the one who put this idea in my head to study revenue. So I remember I was even asking in my prayers, you can also ask God, even if I don't know something, help me to have an idea, help me to be able to apply my mind right for me, God. Be there with me in the exam so that I don't panic, so that I don't get confused. You can ask for all of that. So I remember I was so grateful, I was so excited because I could feel that God's presence was there with me, because I knew like He had helped me to study auditing the night before, the morning prior to the test basically. So I was so excited. So the next day when we were writing text, I remember I wasn't fully prepared for text because they changed the text legislation. It changes yearly, so they usually release new books, and I had an old book until I think around June or September. I think around just before September, that's when I decided to, maybe 3 weeks before September, that's when I decided to buy the new one, because there's certain text rates and numbers that would have changed, and you can really cram them, but I didn't want to have to cram because I knew there was already a lot of work that I needed to get through for me to be able to cram numbers, all the numbers that would have changed from prior years. So I decided to buy a new text act. And now I hadn't gotten through all the work. So text was also one of those modules that I was kind of afraid of, because if you don't know, basically you don't know where to go in the text act to find your provisions or whatever that you'll be looking for, whatever that will be in the scenario. If you've never seen it, it's kind of hard to find it in the exam. But I just had this idea when I was writing text. The idea was just like, go to your index. So you guys, let me just show you how the text act looks like, so maybe you can have an idea of what I'm saying. So this is basically how the text act looks like. You are allowed to get into the exam with it, but if you don't know, that's what I'm saying, if you don't know where something is located, it's very hard for you to find it. If you haven't highlighted and flagged, or you don't know a topic that's coming, it's very hard for you to just find it in all this information, right? I went there and literally God led me to the keyword that I was supposed to look for, and from that keyword I actually saw quite a number of sections that keyword was in. So I was able to go to one of those sections and I figured out that that's exactly what the scenario wanted. It wanted me to use that act. So this is something that I had never heard of before, that I never thought of before. So do you guys understand that God can help you even in the exam? And to think that I was going in through an index, right, which is a lot of words, and you're going through and you're trying to look for something, I did not panic. So that to me was just a sign that God was really there with me and He was helping me to calm down. But The results came out, honey. The girl failed. At this point, it was just like, okay, all right then. But I fasted though. But I had a 2.5 day absolute fast. That's what will be going on in your mind. I'm not gonna lie, right? That's what will be going on in your mind. But I fasted, what's happening? And God showed me auditing, that auditing was gonna come. How come I failed? I really felt his presence. Those are questions that were going on in my mind. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So this is just to show you that this testimony is supposed to show you that God is always there. God will take you through to the end, even if it does not look like you're gonna pass. So this was the final test before the actual exam, right? So it was basically like, oh, it's kind of over, you only left with the exam. What makes you, these are thoughts that are going through my mind, what makes you think that if you didn't pass this one, you're gonna pass the exam, and you need 60%. Now this one has got a bigger percentage. What makes you think that you're gonna get over 50% so that you can cover up for all these low averages? Those are things that are going on in my mind. And then I just remembered that no, a lot of victories in the Bible I really loved. You know what? There's a story in the Bible of David, right? David was just a shepherd. He was not an armed person. He did not go to war. His brothers went to war, but they were facing a battle against the Philistines. And Goliath was coming against the Israelites, and he was challenging anyone who could actually come before him and kill him. Everybody else, the king, everybody, imagine people who were actually trained to go to war. They were hiding away and they were shivering in the bushes. So now David, he hears about this giant, who was just challenging everybody, and he decided to go there, not because he knew he had strength or he knew he had all the training in the world to fight in battles or anything. He knew that he had something bigger. He had someone bigger. He had God, the Holy One of Israel. So he went against Goliath. This small boy, he was the youngest of his brothers. A young boy went against this huge giant that everybody else was scared of. But he knew that he wasn't alone. He was going there with God. So David killed Goliath with a slingshot and a stone. Not because the slingshot had so much pressure or what, but just because God was showing his power through David, that even though he was the smallest, even though it didn't look like he was gonna win, the power of God, his strength is made stronger in your weakness. So I felt like with David, it really showed, it was so evident that Goliath died because of God, not necessarily because of David, because only God enabled David to be able to kill Goliath. So that story, it kept me strong. I was like, you know what? I'm still gonna go to this giant called CTA in the name of Jesus, and I'm gonna pass. Not because of anything else, but because of God. So then it was now 3 weeks left till we started writing the final exam, like the determining exam. And I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna try again, I'm gonna put in the work, all that. And at the same time, I was fasting. I think my mom was also fasting and praying for me, and we were praying for each other with my friends. Then I remember in the third week, right, I got sick. And even though I got sick, I just tried to study whenever I could. But if I couldn't, I was like, you know what, I'm putting it in God's hands at this point. I'm tired, but I know God will get me through. He will never disappoint me. So I got better, and I had 2 weeks left to study. So then I started studying accounting for an entire week, because I was just afraid of accounting more than any other module. So I started studying accounting for one of the 2 weeks, and then I was left with 1 week to study everything else, tax, auditing, and financial management. So I decided to split my time, but I couldn't study tax in time. So I just decided, and I remember my mom came the day before we started writing, and we prayed and we were celebrating. It was like a victory prayer, really. We were not asking God, we were thanking God. We were like, thank you, God, thank you for you're with us, thank you that we've already conquered. I remember we sang this other song called Testimony, that I will testify, which I'm doing now. I don't know if I can link that video.
I have come with testimonies. Take a look at me, you can see it. Say you can call me testimonies. It is my time and it is my season. All around me, testimonies.
But that would be nice, because we actually sang a song called Testimony because we knew that no matter what, I would testify, even if it looked like, oh girl, how do you expect to pass now when you've been failing the entire year? I was just like, I'm going to testify because God is greater than everything, and you don't have to see things to be able to apply faith. Faith works even more when you can't see your way out. And I remember going to church when I was at school this other time. I decided I wanted to go to church because I had the church is like in Pretoria and I was in school in Joburg, but I was just like to my mom, I'm gonna take the train, the how train, and I'm gonna come and we're gonna go to church. I missed the first train, but luckily, oh thank God, there's a second service at night. So we attended the one at night, and I was like, there's something there for me at church. I'm going to receive a word. And the pastor preached something, the verse where Jesus was telling someone he was about to heal. So Jesus said to that person, according to your faith, let it be done unto you. So I was like, you know what, this is my word. I'm going to take this word and run with it. So I always used to say, according to my faith. It's according to my faith that I'm going to pass. So every time I would get discouraged, I would always remind myself, call my mom, call my friends, so that we could get our faith up, because we knew that according to the faith, that's how I was gonna make it. So I was praying. I was like, God, if you help me to pass, I'm going to tell the world about it. You know, I'm going to testify, which I'm doing now. Thank God. This is just a video to just thank God and praise God. It was not my doing. So fast forward till we wrote the exams. They were tough. I was fatigued, and but I still had faith. I was declaring that I'm going to pass. I walked in there knowing that I was going to pass, not because of, oh yeah, I know I've studied everything or anything, but because I knew that God was with me in the exam room, and I knew that He wouldn't disappoint me at the end of the day. Okay, so now I'm gonna go straight to when the results came out. I was scared, I was anxious. It was a list of people who had passed, and the girl was there on the list without a sub or anything, and it was unbelievable. I remember I was just like, God, I was crying and I was happy and I was giving Him praise. And now I'm just here to tell you all that God can do it for you as well. You just have to practice stubborn faith, because it's not like it was easy for me. It's not like everything was going great. Things did not look like I was gonna make it, but I did in the end, because I had faith in God, and God does not disappoint those who have hope in Him. So yeah guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and comment down below what you've experienced and how God has helped you through a certain situation in your life, and let's just encourage each other, guys. God is great, guys. So I'll see you in my next video. So guys, now we're in Monte Casino, which is here to celebrate Passing Cta. Yes, CASS, those are my classmates. And yeah, guys.